All right, I am going. Welcome to Beyond the Game More Stories, the podcast where we explore the lessons sports teach us about life, leadership, adversity, and just growth long after the final whistle blows. I'm your host, Dwayne Lightfoot Jr. On this show, we sit down with athletes, coaches, parents, and leaders just to have real conversations about the moments that shape us, the challenges, the victories, the big ones, the small ones, the setbacks, and just ultimately the experiences that stay with us long after the scoreboard goes dark. All right, let's hop into today's episode of Beyond the Game More Stories. Today's guest is someone whose story is built on competition, perseverance, and commitment to becoming better every single day. He was a 3 year varsity player at Dr. Phillips High School in Orlando, Florida, where he played cornerback and helped lead the program to incredible success. As a junior, he was part of a team that captured the 2017 Florida Class 8A state championship after the Panthers had already reached the state championship game the year before. His journey then took him to one of the most prestigious academic institutions in the country, Columbia University, where he pursued a degree in architecture while continuing to balance the disciplines and mindsets that sports had instilled in him. But that competitive fire didn't stop there. He later entered the world of SlamBall, where he was selected 7th overall in the draft by the Ozone, and he went on to make his mark as the Series 6 SlamBall dunk champion, showcasing the athleticism and creativity that made him such a dynamic competitor. Today, he continues to stay connected to the game by training and mentoring young athletes, just passing along the lessons sports taught him growing up. But his greatest passion now lives beyond the game. Through the Better Everyday Foundation, he is working to bring light, love, and lasting encouragement to people who are fighting one of life's toughest battles, cancer. As a recent cancer slayer himself, this project isn't just important, it's personal. His journey is a powerful reminder that the lessons we learn through sports and life often prepare us for the biggest challenges we'll ever face. So please help me welcome Bryan Bell-Anderson to the podcast. Welcome to the podcast, B. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on.
Man, not a problem. I appreciate you doing this. I know it's something, we talked about a while back that I wanted to do this with you. I've known you since we were very little, and I'm getting to work with you in life now. You've worked my kids out for a couple of years now, and I've kind of seen your story and everything, and been able to see just the man that you've grown into, and just want to be able to learn more about Bryan. Want to be able to kind of share your story. I think you have an amazing story, both on the field, on the slam ball court, and just in life. I admire you as a young man and everything that you're doing. I know your background. I know where you come from, and I know that you are destined for greatness, man. So I'm just happy to be able to have this opportunity to talk with you and share this with you.
Thank you. That means so much coming from you. I know we've known each other for a long time and kind of seen each other through different seasons and everything. And it's definitely such a pleasure to be on here. I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, well, awesome. So. All right, so kind of the like I said, with the podcast, a lot of people may know, we had your dad on a while back, and he kind of previewed this conversation would be coming up, so I want to go ahead and jump into it. So with this podcast, the first thing, again, it's a little different in kind of how I look at it, right? I don't want to just kind of focus on just the accomplishments and everything that you did on the field, on the court, and everything. I want to actually look more into it because this podcast came off of the book that I wrote, and it's just kind of talking about how these sports and everything taught us the life lessons and how we're able to use them later in life. So I always like to start back at the beginning with this podcast, because on this podcast we focus on the person, not just the player. So if I'm setting the table for everybody listening, if someone were to only know you from the highlights, from the bio that I read or anything, tell me something that they may not know about what it took to get you here.
Wow, I mean, I could probably point out a couple different things. I've gone through, especially these last couple years, I've gone through a lot of physical challenges, mental challenges, but I've just been so fortunate to have such an amazing support network for me. My family's always been so supportive of me. My friends, my family, my extended church family, really just having that support from everyone around me has really helped me get through the last couple years and all my life, really. And I would definitely say my relationship with the Lord, um, that has definitely got helped me get through a lot of these struggles I've gone through in these recent years.
Yeah, and that's something that I've know because again I've seen it in you, you know, your belief and your faith, and that's something that you know your parents have instilled in you, and it's helped build just your foundation. And I love the way that you lean on that in the good times and the bad times, and you know, and that is something that's helped build you to be who you are. And I know we talk a lot about it, and when athletes get awards, the first person they thanks are God and their mother, and I really believe that because without God giving us the God-given abilities that we had and the desire to do the things that we do, you know, there's no way we would be where we are as athletes or as people.
Exactly.
I love hearing it.
Yes, sir.
So, like you said, you know, I know the last couple years, you know, I do definitely want to get into that, but there's multiple sides to your story. You know, we talked about how just in the beginning, I want to look at the athlete. So, as a sophomore, I mentioned in the introduction that your team lost in the state championship. What
Good.
did that experience teach you that you may have been able to find as be something that would be more valuable for you than winning in that actual moment?
Yeah, through losing it sophomore year, that really stuck with me. Getting all the way to the state championship, you know, it's 15 games you got to play. It's a long season. Getting to that point and then losing, and then the way we did, we were actually up. I forgot if we were up by 7 or 10 with about 5 minutes left in the game, and we ended up losing. So the way we lost, the road to get there, it really hurt. I'm not gonna lie, but we played a late game, literally the next morning, the very next morning, about I'd probably say 7:30. By 8 o'clock, I was in the gym with my dad, and I woke him up. I said, "Dad, we got to get back to work. Got to get back to it. I'm not gonna just. I can't sit with this feeling." So literally the next day, about 8 in the morning, we were in the gym grinding, and I feel like that next day really set the tone for the whole off season. And then the next year, as you mentioned, we ended up getting back to the state championship and winning. And if I'm looking back and just being honest about it, the roster we had my junior year was definitely a lot less talented overall from top to bottom than the roster we had sophomore year. Um, but that fire that we had in us from losing it sophomore year, even though we had what could have been a little bit less talented of a roster, we just worked so hard that whole offseason. Coach Wells came in and he installed a sand pit at practice. So every single day to start practice, we're running around with helmets and shoulder pads, bear crawling through sand before practice even starts. So, you know, the grind we put in from that experience of losing was it really set a fire, not just me, but my entire team that we rode that flame all the way back to the state championship and we were able to win it again next year. So I would definitely say that loss, if we had won it my sophomore year, there's no shot we would have won it my junior year. I can honestly say that. So whenever you do take a loss, if you're able to just channel that energy and really focus it into getting back, you can really get to a whole nother level than you could have ever even imagined. And I think that's definitely what happened with that state championship team at Dr. Phillips.
Yeah, and I think sometimes you look at like you said, had y'all won that sophomore year, who knows how that junior year or even that senior year would have turned out because you had that fire initially from we just lost, I'm back in the gym the very next day. I don't want to have this feeling again. I don't want to I don't look at a lot of things in life and say like this was a mistake or anything. I look at it and I say, hey, this is I found a way that didn't work. Right. So the way that we as a team approach this last season, or like even just those last 5 minutes you talked about, we've learned that we can't get too high. We can't assume that, you know, we've got this in the bag. And even like you said that next year, you can't even assume that you're going to get back to the state championship. You know, there has to be some grind that has to happen. And for you all, it started, you know, the very next morning after that, while that taste was still in your mouth.
hmm Sometimes people want to just forget about it, but for me, it really just you can't forget about it. You gotta remember those things and remember them not in a sense that it like that sadness, that feeling of like, oh, we lost, like sulk about it. But if you can remember it and remember that sting, remember that feeling, and just do everything in your power to not feel that again, that's when I really feel like that those losses can really catapult you to a whole nother level.
Yeah, and they did. So, like as you said, you guys were able to win the state championship the next year, and competing in, we're both in Florida. Florida's a football state, and you guys are playing 8A. That is, I'm from Kentucky. The highest I ever heard of was 5A, right? So to understand just the competitive nature and level of just athletes and football being played there to win an 8A state championship is an amazing testament to just, the story that you've had. But so as you are a part of that team as a junior, you mentioned you're now heading into your senior year, coming off of a state championship. You have a different experience than you did from the previous year, and now you're stepping into more of a leadership role. So how did the example set by some of those older players that you played during with your first 3 seasons help prepare you to lead, especially as a defensive player, where those players aren't always the one that gets the spotlights, like the quarterbacks and the receivers and everything like that? How were you able to prepare for that?
The tradition at Dr. Phillips is strong. We've had guys like Matt Milano still playing in the league right now, Haha Clinton Dix, D Hart. We've had a lot of people who've gone to high school level, be high level, go to play in Under Armour All American games, go to Alabama high level D1 football, go to the league. We've had a lot of people, so that tradition is really passed down. And I remember getting in my freshman year and just seeing the seniors then, and there's definitely a standard that is set, a standard for how hard we're going to work, how we operate in the weight room, how we operate on the field, how we operate during summer workouts. So as soon as I got in there, it was very easy to see that standard. And so stepping into it, my senior year, being one of the person who's supposed to continue that standard and that tradition, it wasn't I would say it wasn't easy, but it definitely wasn't hard because it was such ingrained into us. It was just who we were, how we operated, and although we definitely, I would say having that fire from sophomore to junior year, losing that off season, the amount of work we put in was just insane as a whole. And then going into my senior year, um, it was a little bit hard, just a little bit coming off winning the state championship. I probably wasn't in the gym the next day after winning the state championship. So I mean that's just the reality of it. But being able to really have the younger guys coming in, so you got to think when we go sophomore and junior year. By the time I'm a senior, there's sophomores at the school they've never experienced anything but going to the state championship. They come in their freshman year, we go to the state championship and lose. Then their sophomore year, we go to the state championship and win. That's a high standard you're being set. So that standard was really just ingrained into everyone. Everyone really understood that. And Coach Wells, Rodney Wells, he's just a legend in the Orlando area as a coach in Florida. He did such an amazing job of giving the leaders the reins to set the standard. The coaches were definitely in control, but it was very player led, and that's the strongest teams I think come from when that standard isn't being held by the coach but the players themselves. So honestly, it really wasn't that hard at Dr. Phillips because it's just ingrained into you the moment you get there, that standard that you got to uphold.
Yeah, and I think, looking back at it, that's something I never thought about. You see it all the time with a lot of these high major college programs. Like on the basketball side, you have a UConn that's played in three of the last four national championships. Alabama had their run, but you talk about a junior to be coming in and they know nothing but the state championship. And that is a concept that I never thought. My schools were not anywhere near as good as that. So I have the exact opposite, record. Like my teams didn't make it out of the first round of playoffs. So my senior year, when we actually did, you're now, like I said, you're now on the other side. We're now trying to start that foundation that you said that Dr. Phillips had built already and instilled in all the athletes. So that is a testament to just kind of the program that they've built, and just time and consistency, and like you said, Coach Wells, and how he ran his program, and everybody like that. Coming into a Dr. Phillips, you know what you're going to get. And if it's something that you're not ready to step up to and be ready for, sometimes you got to step aside and learn it another way before you can actually get into that. It's not always the throw them in the fire, because sometimes you throw a kid into the fire and they don't come out. You get kids that give up on their sport and everything because they weren't ready for it. But I think when you talk about a program like DP, and just the history and those names that you mentioned, the Clinton Dix, and people like that you've seen do it on Saturday and on Sunday, it is an amazing testament to, just like you said, that being built inside all of the players, and something that's inside of you, and that you're able to carry throughout not just sports, but you can't kind of keep that same stuff in life. I've watched you train. I've seen the leadership, the communication levels, and everything. I see it in you still to this day.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So again, like I said in my intro, I went through it with basketball, but I know that your experience was a little different. So tell me about your recruiting process and how you ended up at Columbia.
The recruiting process is it's different and it's changing a lot. I'm watching my brother go through his kind of recruiting process and starting that whole journey, and it's a whole nother level now with NIL and everything. But for me personally, um, I started off honestly talking to really big schools. Were the first couple of schools I started talking to. I think the first couple of schools that sent me mail were like Ohio State, Florida State, like real big schools. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that at Dr. Phillips, every single coach that comes through Central Florida, he's stopping at Dr. Phillips. Especially when I was there, going to those state championships years in a row, we'd have a lot of colleges every single day. We'd have colleges there. Um, so I talked to a lot of big schools, but just the reality of it, the way colleges recruit, I think a lot of them thought I was going to continue growing. I kind of wasn't the most. I guess you could say I was a little undersized. But when I started talking to these big schools freshman, sophomore year, I think they kind of, if I'm just being honest, looking back on it, they probably thought I was going to grow a little bit more. So they probably were just expecting more. And then as time went on, some of the bigger schools kind of fell off. I still talked to a lot of big schools. I finished with, I think, about 15 or 16 D1 offers, but it ended up being a lot more smaller D1 schools, and I had almost all the Ivy League schools offer me at some point. I'd always had my family's, especially my dad, has really instilled in me this academic excellence. Always just maintaining a high level of excellence, not just in sports but academically as well. So I going into high school, I never thought like, oh, I want my grades to be good so I could have door opens to go to Ivy League schools. But just the way my standard had been, um, I had those doors available to me. And looking back, I'm very grateful for that. I never thought I'd be able to go to places like Harvard or Princeton or Columbia. That was never even a thought to me. So I remember sitting down. We were at dinner one night, and my dad was talking to me. He was like, "Why don't you think about these Ivy League schools? Like, have you ever even thought about it?" And that was the first time I even thought in my head, "What if I went to Ivy League school?" And so I just went to the different colleges. I still went to like the Florida State camps, Florida camp, showed out, did my things at those camps for sure. But when you go up north, and I'm not trying to start anything about this up north, south, the East Coast, West Coast, anything, but definitely going to a Florida State camp or going to the Florida camp and then going up north, and I'm at the Harvard camp, I'm at the Columbia camp. There's definitely a little bit of different. The level of talent is a little different. So being able to go to those camps, I definitely stood out a lot, and at a certain point, I just kind of decided, instead of chasing going to a big name school, like a lot of when we're younger, it's like, oh, I want to go to Alabama, I want to go to Florida, Ohio State, the big names. That's what you think of. My mindset kind of shifted, and instead of going chasing a big name school, I wanted to go where I was wanted. I wanted to go somewhere where I really truly felt like the coaches wanted me there, and that's why I ended up choosing Columbia. I really felt like they wanted me. Um, I was gonna have an opportunity to immediately make an impact when I got on campus, and they just truly gave me the feeling that they wanted me to be there, and that's where I ended up choosing to be at Columbia. So that's kind of how it played out for me.
And I think that when I came through, I had three things that I wanted. I wanted to go somewhere that I was going to play as a freshman. I wanted to go somewhere that was close enough to home where if anything I happened, I could get home. I know you went all the way up north from down here in Florida. But the third thing that I had was I wanted a school that wanted me. I didn't want it to be a school that I reached out to and or that my parents reached out to or my coaches. I wanted it to be a school that was like, hey, they're coming to talk to me. And like you're saying, that just shows because again, somebody does that, they believe that you can play in their system. They see you playing in their system. And I think that we as athletes, especially kind of, and I'm significantly older than you. I will say I'm almost 20 years older than you, but I think we as athletes, especially in our generation, because these kids these days are different. But and it's probably TV. We're prone to, oh, I want to go D1. Oh, I want to go to this name. I want to go to that name. They're on TV every week. They got all this, and the NIL's just throwing all of that off now. But I think it's you said something of I want to go somewhere that I fit in. I want to play somewhere where I want to go somewhere I can play, and it wasn't about the name on the front of the chest. It was about the opportunity that school gave me. And I think that is one thing that I love hearing you say, because I want more people to understand that. Don't fall in love with the big shiny glass slipper shoe that you see on TV. It's not all that it's cracked up to be. I went to a smaller school too, and I had an amazing experience that had I gone to maybe a bigger school, I don't know how my career would have ended out. So I feel like you're saying, you have to make the right decision for you as a person, as a player, as a family, all of that. And like your dad said, think about these Ivy League schools. And that's where a lot of people may not even just realize just how smart you are. And I'm well aware that I'm the second, maybe third smartest person in this conversation right now. But like I said, you at one point in time had every Ivy League school interested in you. I know for certain if I'd have gone to an Ivy League school and I graduated college in 2004, I would probably still be there right now trying to graduate. Right. So, like you said, Columbia, Cornell, Brown, Princeton, among others, were some of those names. But I know that academic expectations, as you said, your dad held you to a higher expectation. But at those schools, they're at a different level. How did you manage balancing that level of academics while still competing at that level as an athlete?
It really comes down to time management. It really does, and it's something people say it a lot, but it really does make a difference. You get up 5 a.m. and you have 5:30, 5:45 lift, and then you have a lift, and then you need to do your recovery, ice bath, cold bath, do whatever you do for recovery. Then you got to eat, of course, and you got to get to class, maybe have another class. Then you have practice later in the day, so then you might even have a night class after that. So like it really does
Night
come.
class.
Yeah, that's how I was there.
Yeah, people don't understand
Yeah,
night class.
it's a full day. I remember getting up early, lifting, just like I'm saying, going to having two classes, grabbing lunch real quick, then rushing up to the facility, watching film. We got special teams meeting, defensive meeting, position meeting, and then you going to go get taped up, ready for practice, practice. You might even have film after that, and then you're rushing off to go to class later at night. So it could really be overwhelming. And then once you get to college, people don't think about it. Like some people, like I started doing my laundry in high school, but some people like like doing your laundry and just cleaning and all these different things that piles up and it adds on to you so many new experiences. But being able to have good time management skills are really, it's something that we say a lot, but it honestly isn't taken as seriously as it should be. My first couple months there, I struggled a lot. I struggled a lot with just acclimating to a D1 level expectation with all the meetings was crazy to me. That's really what stood out to me. The amount of meetings we had was crazy. Special teams meeting, defensive meeting, unit meeting, team meeting, position meeting, all these different things. And then you got to go to class, multiple classes. Then you got to do homework. I got to write papers, do discussion posts, all these different things. So it really just comes down to time management. Time management is something that my parents definitely talked to me about before going up there, but I didn't realize how big of a deal it was really going to be. But that's really what got me through.
Yeah, and I tell you, and then this is probably not going to make me look the best, but I'm 44 years old and I still don't know how to iron. You talked about doing your laundry. The first time I did my laundry, I was a freshman in college. And I'm on the phone with my mom and I'm like, okay, I've got my clothes. What do I need to do? And again, we're talking 2000. So there's no FaceTime or nothing. And again, you've been in a college dorm room. They got them big industrial washers and dryers. My mom ain't got one of them at home. She don't know how to
A
tell
whole
me what to
different
do.
thing, exactly. Whole new experience.
You walk down there with your bag of quarters and you're trying to get your laundry done, and then you don't mess around and you be there. Your machine get done before you get back because people will take your
Yep.
laundry out and just leave it sitting on the
Yes.
counter.
Yes, that I've definitely seen that happen. So that happened to me a couple of times. I left my laundry down there, went upstairs to do some homework or something, go eat, come back. I open the thing and there's someone else's clothes there. I'm trying to find my clothes. They got them sitting on the side. So what I started doing was, going back to time management, was I would, every time I did my laundry, I would bring my computer down with me. I'd sit in the laundry room and I would do all my discussion posts, start doing my homework. So I would use that time to not only get my clothes washed, but I'm sitting there doing my homework. And then as soon as I hear it go off, I would switch it into the dryer and I just sit there, continue doing my work. And it would honestly become like an hour and a half block where it was just not just doing my laundry, but that became like a designated like homework time for me as well. So just trying to be productive as possible.
Yeah, I love that you say that this is going to age me again, that you say that you took your computer down. When I was in college, I had a desktop. So I don't know if you know what a desktop is.
Yes, yes.
That yeah, so I'm not lugging that all the way down to the basement. But yeah, no. So again, this the college experience. A lot of people just don't really understand. They say that they want this lifestyle and all of that, but and this is something that just goes beyond the hard work that it takes to make it there and then stay there. Because the staying there is the part that a lot of them got to really that a lot of them really struggle with. It's not just staying there on the court or on the field. It's staying there grade wise. It's staying there, like you said, that schedule that you have to keep up. 5 a.m. You gotta get ready you gotta get up, walk down to the training center, and then you got 8 o'clock class and all of that, and then you've had a full day, and like you say, now here comes that 6 to 9 p.m. night class that you got to do. That's once a week, or and it's a lot of people just don't really understand. You think you're prepared for it, and again, like I said, my big thing was laundry, making a bed, washing sheets, things that I never really thought about, so as I went through my youth. So all righty. But in doing my research, again, like I said, I've known you since probably 2020. I probably met you the first time probably around 2013, 2014. So but in doing some research preparing for this, I learned a little bit more about you. I learned that you taught yourself how to play the piano and the saxophone. So my first thought is, wow. I took keyboarding in 12th grade and I never learned how to read music. So I just memorized where the fingers were. So I know how hard something like that is. But what inspired you to do that? And what did that journey teach you about perseverance and to just developing overall new skills?
Honestly, looking back, I can't even remember exactly what made me want to do that. When I was younger,
A girl.
I was just, no, not that. Wow, when I was younger, I was really, you could say nerdy, I guess might be the word. I read a lot of books. Like I read in a crazy amount of books. I was just very inquisitive. I just like to learn new things. I like to read. I like to watch. Like if I was watching TV, I'd be watching like a documentary or something like that. This is how I was when I was little. I just loved to learn. And I remember when I was really little, my parents signed me up for keyboard classes, but what happened was they got me a little keyboard I could use, and I left it outside on the back patio overnight, and it broke. And then they were like, "All right, you didn't take care of your stuff. We're taking you out of your classes." And I was like, "No, I want to keep doing it." So then years down the line, I got another one, and they didn't put me in the classes, but I had a keyboard, and I was just like, oh, it's my time. I get to do it again. And I think the first song I taught myself how to play was Silent Night, something this simple. I taught myself how to play that, and then I kind of just kind of built on it and built on it. And then the saxophone, that one was the fun one. At first, I actually tried in band class the trumpet, and that wasn't my thing. They let me try the saxophone, and that was a little bit more me. And I just kept going with that. I've always thought the saxophone, like that jazzy style, was super cool. So, like I said, like I'd be at home reading books, playing the saxophone, just doing all types of random things, and it definitely taught me learning a new skill definitely takes time. I definitely didn't just hop on the piano and just start playing immediately. Like it took time and it took effort, it took energy. And to be good at anything, learn anything, develop any new skill, whether it's athletically, whether it's mentally, spiritually, whatever it may be, it really does take time and effort and energy. And that was just another example for me, learning the piano, playing the saxophone. The more time you put into something is what you're gonna get. What you reap is what you sow. So if you put time into it, you're gonna reap the rewards from it. Just like what we were talking about earlier with the state championship. The very next day I'm in there working out, all that time I put in working, I reap what I sowed on the back end of it. And it just kind of goes across all facets of life. Just what you put in is what you get out, truly.
And that drive is something that there's, as somebody who trains kids, that's something that there's no drill that you can create for that. You either have that drive or that heart and want to win and work and outwork the next man, or you don't. I've always said no coach or no trainer should ever have to train or coach effort. That's
Facts.
something that you should
hmm
be able to bring.
My dad has always
And
said, he always says, he writes it down, OWE, outwork everyone. That's something he's always said ever since I was little. And he's just always kind of just instilled that into me. And like I said, no matter what it is, whether it's academically, whether it's uh, in sports, is just always just the goal of just outworking everyone. That was definitely in high school. That's where I got my confidence from. Because, like I mentioned before, I was a little undersized. I might not have been the fastest or the strongest, but I was confident, and I knew my body of work was greater than anybody's body of work that I was competing against. I knew in my head that it was a fact. There was no debate. There might have been a debate if I was faster than them, if I was bigger or stronger, but when it come down to, I knew my body of work. You compare that to their body of work, and I knew my body of work was better, and that's where I just had. That's honestly where I got my confidence from in the sports world. I just knew I outworked everyone I went against, and my body of work was just nobody else's could compare.
yeah, and I've known your dad for it'll be 20 years next year. And I know a lot about him, and I've played against him, I played with him, and now I've seen him now in this part of his life that he's doing with training and everything. And I see a lot of your dad in you. I see that the lessons that he's instilled in you, and I know your mom as well. I see a lot of the things that your mom has instilled in you and also in your brother Taj. I see all of that, and I think that's what's been able to help you guys lead to have all the success that you have had. But I think back in my head and I picture when you talked about how when you were younger, you said you may have been a little nerdy. As a kid, like would see this, I can see it in my mind right now. I would see this shirt and I never knew exactly what it was, but there was one day when we were at Better Every Day, and somebody said something, and I think you had talked. Some kid was running, and you looked over at the kid and said, "You run like Naruto," and I may be pronouncing his name wrong. And when you talk about, you were a little nerdy, you were probably one of the first ones that I've actually known as like, okay, I understand why he likes anime. And I've got my oldest son, Dwayne. Dwayne loves anime. Dwayne watches My Hero Academia literally every day. So, when you say that you were a little nerdy, again, I think it's more intelligent to be somebody that can sit there and read, like you said, all the books that you read and watch something like an anime and understand the different languages that they go to be able to process all of that. And just having that kind of mind, I think, also helps in the sports world because your mind is moving at a much faster pace than a lot of people, and you're processing the game, you're processing what's coming up, you're processing what's just happened, what's about to happen. You're processing that faster than your opponents, and I think that's something that helps. And I think it was something that was beneficial for you for the next chapter of your life that you went through. You and I share the acclamade accolade to say that we've played one of the greatest sports of all time. Not a lot of people in this world can say that they've not only been on a slam ball court, but been drafted to a slam ball court, played slam ball and everything. And just for the few people out there that may not know what slam ball is a hybrid sport that includes elements of hockey, football, and basketball. Um, so now, again, it's played on a regulation basketball court with 4 Olympic-style trampolines built into the floor that basically make the game NBA Jam. I came into that with a basketball background, but you entered that with a football background. We kind of had different experiences. And I know I can still remember watching as you leading up to going to training camp, you and your dad going to the trampoline park here locally and just kind of getting you ready. And I was just like, man, I can see it. Like, I wish I was, 15 years younger, but but I see that athleticism. I see the aggression and the effort and energy and everything that you were taking into it. But what experiences from football and just the different teams that you played on, state championship teams, teams at Columbia that you played with, that helped you prepare for something as unique as slam ball?
Yeah, so slam ball is a very interesting sport. Like you said, there's so many different elements of so many different sports. Um, and me, as you know, you mentioned I train your kids. I train people and stuff. My dad's a trainer, my mom's a trainer. So I think of things from that perspective of a trainer. So when you think about how to prepare for something like slam ball, it's crazy because most sports are played on one surface. You're either on a turf, you're on a court, you're in a pool. There's one surface you're playing on. But with slam ball, you're moving multiple surfaces. You might be on the trampoline, you might be on the hardwood. So it's just so many things that goes into training for it. But I say honestly, what stood out for me with slam ball, or what I kind of excelled in, was in the tramps type of freestyle type of stuff. My ability to kind of control my body in the air, and I'd say a lot of that came from, a lot of it is core. Like it's a lot of core strength. I feel in slam ball, and yes, football, the toughness that was instilled with me, and just the team aspect of how football is. Like everyone needs to do their job, their 111 for it all to come together. So football really did play a big part. But I'd say honestly, before slam ball, and a lot of people don't know this, I started training to be an MMA fighter. So I was actually about to have an MMA fight coming up before I got the slam ball call. And then I was just kind of weighing it. I'm like, should I do this? Should I do that? And I ended up going to the slam ball route. But I really think that MMA training and the jiu-jitsu training, all that training really helped me a lot with being able to control my body in the air, that core strength. Um, I've I've played a lot of different sports, done a lot of different things, but the core strength required in things like combat sports like jujitsu, wrestling, mixed martial arts, all that type of stuff, I really feel like that truly, truly, truly put me to a whole nother level when it came to sandball. Being able to have that core strength and being able to control yourself in the air, being able to jump forward, catch something, turn like just all the crazy things that goes into slam ball. It looks crazy when you watch it, but when you play it, like you think like, oh, you're just gonna jump on the trampoline and hop around. Like it really takes so much more. Going into training camp, there are some people that just couldn't get it. Just were never able to just get a grasp on it, and these are high level athletes. So I really feel like it sounds odd, but the jujitsu training, the wrestling, all that I feel like really helped me a lot and gave me an edge that no one else in the season I played really had. There wasn't really anyone else doing MMA training, jiu-jitsu training, stuff like that. And I really feel like that gave me a big edge when it came to sandball.
Yeah. So you brought it up, so I'm going to give you a bonus question. So you talk about the MMA time that you spent. Going through that training and everything, what did that teach you about about the process of again starting basically starting over again? That helped you prepare you again for a new sport.
So it honestly, the first thing that I had to learn was being comfortable, being uncomfortable. Um, Everyone thinks they're big and bad when they go into MMA gym or a jiu-jitsu gym. And your first time, depending or no matter where you are really, but I trained under Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu legend named Jacare Souza. If you were to make a Mount Rushmore of Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, most people would include him on there. And he was just opening his Jiu-Jitsu academy, so he was very hands-on during the time I was there. So I'd go in there thinking, like I'm a D1 athlete, I'm a football player, I'm about to just tackle everyone and do whatever. And that was not the case. You run in there and try to tackle someone, by the time before you even hit the ground, you got your arm twisted a crazy type of way and you're trying to tap before you even hit the ground. So you really, really learn to be uncomfortable in uncomfortable spaces. And then it really, really, jujitsu and MMA training really humbled me. It really humbled me to really just understand that there are truly levels to this. And in a lot of sports, like if I mess up playing football, I'm on the island, I'm in the boundary playing corner. I mess up, the consequences is worst case scenario, the ex receiver catches a go ball and I give up a touchdown. In SlamBall, if I mess up and um, if I do the wrong assignment defensively, the worst case scenario is um, the gunner gets a free lane and he dunks on my stopper. So like that's the consequences for those types of sports. But when you go into something like MMA, you're doing Muay Thai training, kickboxing training, you're doing jiu-jitsu. The consequences are getting knocked out, getting your arm broken potentially, getting all these different types of things. So the consequences and the weight to your decisions when you train MMA and you train these things is a whole nother level, and it really teaches you to it's very intellectual. I can't just be all spastic doing all these things. You got to really be very, very calculated with every movement. Because, like I said, the consequences for making the wrong move or making the wrong assignment, moving your arm this way or putting your head here instead of here, the consequence it is you're choked out, you're knocked out. So that really taught me a lot in the MMA and jiu-jitsu, just the idea of being extremely calculated with each and every movement.
Yeah, and I don't know if I ever shared with you my football journey, but I played 1 year, my sophomore year in high school. I played two plays the entire year. My coach saw me and he was like, "Oh, 6'5", can jump. Yeah, you're gonna make a great tight end. You're gonna make a great receiver." But apparently, I learned my very first practice. They ran me on a slant, and the safety and I met. We had a conversation, and I learned that I didn't like to be hit. So I knew something like Muay Thai was not for me. Jiu-Jitsu was not for me. I don't like being hit. But you talk about the humbling experience that you got, and I know again, I know your dad, and I know he's very big in the golf world. I got that humbling feeling from golf. You talked about what you out there, uh, that experience you get of just, I'm D1 athlete. I'm gonna come out here and do this. I went out to play golf the very first time with a couple of friends. Two were football players. One was a state chess champion, like chess, knight, king, rook, all of that. And then there was me, Division 1 basketball player. And we put this little golf ball down, and I can't hit that ball anywhere I want it to go. And then, we made the mistake of going to a real golf course to play. And we walked up, we're waiting on the tee boxes. People are ahead of us. And there's this little old lady, about about 5'6", and she just swings her club and her ball goes like 150 yards straight in the fairway. And I'm just looking at her like, it doesn't matter what weight I lift. It doesn't matter how many agility drills I can do, that I can dunk a basketball. I can't make this little ball go nowhere, go where I want it to. So, and like you said, it's about learning and just that humbling part of the process. So,
Hmm.
um, all right. So, like I said, there are several parts to the Bryan Bell-Anderson story. So, right now, I want to, if you're okay, I want to talk about just kind of the last 2 years. I think your last 2 years are a part of the story that I think a lot of people can learn from. So, do you mind just kind of at a high level before we get into it, just kind of telling me a little bit about that? I believe it was a Saturday morning. That Saturday morning, and just kind of what happened.
Uh, but in terms of the last 2 years, it's definitely been a roller coaster. Um, I for the people who don't know, I was diagnosed with leukemia, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, in February of 2024. And it was crazy the timing of it all because I had came back from SlamBall. I was on a high. I was living in Vegas, getting paid good. I just won a dunk contest. I'm on top of the world, training, thinking I'm gonna go back and do it all again. And then just a couple days after my birthday, about a week after my birthday, I'm in the hospital. And I learned a lot through those years. There's a lot of stuff that came out of that. I changed tremendously as a person. The person I am now compared to who I was before all that was the amount of growth has been crazy. And you don't grow unless you're in an uncomfortable situation. And when it comes to life, I mean, I can't think of a much more uncomfortable situations than being diagnosed with cancer. That's You're in an uncomfortable place 24/7. So the amount of growth um, that that happened over that time. I'm honestly incredibly grateful for it. I wouldn't have said it in the moment, but I honestly feel like it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. Truly, being diagnosed and going through that whole experience and being able to learn all the lessons I did and coming out the person I am on the other side now. Honestly, it was truly the best thing that ever happened to me. In a weird way, I can truly say that.
Yeah, and again, I remember you were working out at Better every day, training my kids, and you were doing the Saturday morning workouts, and we show up. I think I want to say we were there that Thursday, and you worked the kids out, and we come back Saturday morning, and my kids were the only ones there coming on Saturday mornings with you, and all of a sudden your mom is there, and she's talking to me, and I was like, oh yeah. She tells me that what she told me at the time, and again, I don't know how much she knew or anything, but what she told me at the time was you were reffing at the flag football the night before and started to have some pain, and that you went to the chiropractor that morning. And then again, I will never forget. I was back there Monday. Your dad was working out the kids, and they had a water break. And your dad walks me outside, and he gives me this news, and I'm just like, just devastated. And I couldn't understand, why you everything that you had been doing, healthy and everything. But like you said, you've gone through it, you've slayed it. You've become a different person, and a lot of that, I think, comes from just the overall concept that's instilled in you, that better everyday mentality. It's not just a phrase. It is a way of thinking. And in sports, we often think about small improvements over time, but I see that as something that also applies to recovery for something like that. So how did kind of having that mentality help you kind of stay focused when the results weren't immediate, or even the results weren't something that you could physically see?
It was a struggle, not gonna lie. Um, Going through so initially when I got diagnosed, I was put on a the doctor talked to me, said you're young, you're fit, you're healthy, we're gonna attack this aggressive. I The type of leukemia I had, there's many different types. Every cancer there's many different types of it, but the specific type of cancer or leukemia I had is very aggressive, and it's aggressive, and it can spread. It's just an aggressive form of leukemia. So he said, we're gonna treat you aggressive. We're gonna attack this thing. And I'm like, all right, let's get to it. Like, I'm ready. So I had every week I'd have three different types of IV chemo, and then once a week they would inject chemo directly into my spinal column and my brainstem. And I had that for about a month, and I'm thinking, like I'm about to just beat cancer. A month and a half from now, like, I'm gonna be good. A month and a half goes by, and they tell me, they sit down, they're like, Bryan, you've gotten worse. This is not working. We're gonna have to pivot. We're gonna have to make a new plan. And stuff like that happened multiple times. It's just the 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 hurt from those conversations. It's unlike any other thing I've experienced in sport. You know, like losing that state championship sophomore year, or giving up a touchdown, or dropping a pass, or missing an assignment on the SlamBall court. Like that feeling cannot even come anywhere close to having a talk like that with an oncology doctor. Um, but you know, honestly, like God was really with me throughout that experience. Um, the Lord is with all of us. He's always around. He's everywhere at all times, everywhere you go. And the only thing that really changes is your ability to comprehend that, and your ability to be aware of it, like your awareness of His presence. And during my time in cancer, uh, with my cancer treatment, my awareness of God's presence became incredibly heightened. You know, my whole life I had been able to rely on my own strength to get through different obstacles and uh, complete different tasks. Like you said, my mind, or I mentioned to you, my mindset was always just outwork everyone. If I work super hard, I'm gonna get this result. But with this experience with cancer, it wasn't really like that. I had to really lean on the Lord. And you know, I've gone through some things that are unimaginable, but at the same time, over these last 2 years, I've seen miracles that are only can only be accredited to the Lord. So, um, a lot of lessons I learned through sports helped me mentally to just keep going. But I'd honestly say the biggest thing was leaning on God, and really leaning into the Word, and really just submitting in all my ways, and really just leaning into God's presence. That is really what got me through my whole situation with cancer, truly.
Yeah, and I know your dad recently posted a video out there talking about how you are the strongest person that that he knows, and I see that smile, and he's right. Again, I know again you not only just strong in what you were going through, but you and your family kind of documented it as well. They were giving updates on social media because again, you have a great circle in your household, but you also have a big circle around you from your DP family, your we call it better every day family, the slam ball family, like that community. They were keeping up with you, Shine Nine, all of that, and that was just a testament to everything that you have been to those people around you. And just again, it was as a friend, and as part of your as a friend to your whole family, just kind of seeing you go through that. It was hard, but again, I knew from the beginning that that God had you and your family, your faith. I knew that you were going to be in the best hands possible. I knew they had you with the good doctors and everything, and I knew that it was just going to be a matter of time, even though there were some setbacks before you get to this side of it, to where you have your new birthday, you got your transplant, and from your mom and everything, and just the amazingness to see everything that comes through. Because going against cancer, you face many of opponents in your life. That's not one that you have a scouting report for, or that you create game plans for. It's not the tournament where you don't know who you're going to play 2 weeks from now. That is an opponent that you never think is going to happen. But again, it's a testament to just who you are, and everything that you've done to be able to sit where you are today. And so one thing I talk about here a lot on Beyond the Game is just that we're not just athletes, right? Like in the beginning, I said I focus more on the person than just the highlights or reliving old games or anything like that. So um, a little while back, you're on Instagram. Your Instagram name used to be Athlete Brian, but now you've changed it to Apostle Brian. So, what story do you feel that you're most called to share about now through this change?
So I'm glad you asked that. So honestly, it comes down to identity, and we as human beings, what we identify in and what we identify as, it really changes our whole perspective and just the way we go through life. And So the day I'm decided to make that change, I was at the movie theater watching a show called The Chosen, and The Chosen is a show that basically shows the life of Jesus. And whenever they come out with a new season, they put 3 episodes kind of combined together, and you can watch it at the movie theater. So I'm at the movie theater watching The Chosen, and for people who don't know, there's in the Bible, there's a part where Jesus, he's walking with his disciples. He comes across a fig tree, and from a distance, the fig tree has a bunch of leaves, and it looks strong and healthy. And Jesus goes up to the tree, and he's expecting it to have fruit because it looks healthy, it looks good. He goes up to it, and it has no fruit. And long story short, Jesus eventually curses the fig tree. The fig tree has no fruit. And in the Bible, Jesus spoke in parables, and it's not really direct. You got to kind of pull the meaning from it. But in that moment, I'm watching and I'm realizing, like, wow, um, I'm realizing Jesus cursed the fig tree because it didn't bear fruit. We are meant to be fruitful and multiply and give testimony. That's what the Bible kind of instructs us to do. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, what's my fruit? I started asking myself. I was sitting in a movie theater. I said, "What's my fruit?" And then I started thinking about it. Everything that came to mind was, you're a first round draft pick in SlamBall. You're a state champion. You're a D1 football player. Everything that I thought of was all tied to my athletic identity. I identified as an athlete first and foremost. So everything that I viewed in myself as fruit was through that lens of I'm an athlete. And in that moment, I kind of realized, like, wow, although those things are good to have, and it's not bad to have those things and have those accolades, but that's not true fruit. That's just leaves. It's fluff. It's not true fruit. And in that moment, I kind of realized I need to identify first and foremost as a son of God, first and foremost, to be able to pivot myself in a way that I would be fruitful. And back when I was little, for the apostle part, when I was in kindergarten, I actually went to a private Christian school, and in our graduation, we had to go up on stage and say our name and what we want to be when we grow up. And so when I was kindergarten, I went up on stage. I said, when I grow up, I want to be an apostle. And I realized in that moment, I was like, wow, that 5-year-old me was truly more fruitful in his actions and how he treated people around him and the impact he had on the world than I do now. At the time, I was 22, 23, I think, when I made that change. And in that moment, I just decided, I'm not going to identify as an athlete anymore. That's not going to be my identity. I'm going to identify as a son of God first and foremost. And in that moment, I made that change. I went on there. I changed my name from Athlete Bryan, like you said, to Apostle Bryan, just as a reminder to always just identify first and foremost as a son of God, and let that kind of dictate my actions and where I put my energy into going forward.
And I think that's amazing to hear. The very last chapter of my book is entitled "More Than an Athlete," uh, because I, like you, I identified a lot of my successes, a lot of who I was. If people ask me, what do I want to be when I grow up, or tell me about myself, it became that sports. That was what I led with. I didn't really understand the other side of what more I brought to it outside of just that. With doing this podcast, I've been given an opportunity to create my own merchandise, and I even have a shirt that's about to go out that does say "more than an athlete," because I want people to understand that, and that's why, again, like I said, I don't want to just get people on here and just relive highlight plays or anything like that. I want to use this as an educational piece to be able to teach kids and parents about the journey, the process, what they should expect, and just hear real life stories from people who have lived it. I really believe, that the way that we make changes and what's going on with the world and in sports and with the youth is that we get people in the decision making positions who have been or are currently where these kids want to go. All right. So again, Bryan, I appreciate you taking the time to answer all those questions. Like I said, there's several different parts of your story that I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot from, and getting to know you and hearing your story. So I appreciate your open and honesty and sharing all of that. But for the time being, I do want to kind of pick things up. So I want to do kind of a little quick segment of just some quick hitters. So I'll give you two options. I'll tell you pick one. Tell me the first thing that comes to mind. You don't have to explain if you don't want to. The only rule I have is that you just can't choose both. So you got to pick one. But if I give you like a short question, again, just tell me the first thing that comes to mind. All right.
Yes, sir.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
So take a deep breath, trust your instincts, get ready. There's no wrong answer here. This is all in fun. So, all right. Which sport was harder to learn to play, football or slam ball?
SlamBall.
All righty. What's your favorite scripture?
Ooh, that's a good one. I have a lot of them. It's hard to pick my favorite. I'm gonna throw a couple at you.
All right.
So one that I really held on to when I was going through my cancer treatment was Joshua 1:9. I actually wear it on my bracelet, so I can show it to you. It says it right here, Joshua 1:9. On the other side, it says Cancer Slayer. But it's God says, "Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be terrified. For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." So whenever I was getting a lumbar puncture, or I was getting a bone marrow biopsy, or getting in the radiation room, getting chemo, I kind of just always remember that. Be strong and courageous, because the Lord is with me wherever I am, wherever you are, He's with you. And then I'll throw just two more. I have a bunch I could throw to you, but I'm gonna throw a couple
You're
more.
good.
So with in for my foundation, kind of the pillars we have for how we operate. A couple of them I'll share with you. Acts 20:24. It says, "None of this matters to me. My life does not matter to me. All that matters is finishing the race and completing the task the Lord has given me, the task of testifying to His good grace." And then I'd say one more, Acts 20:35. Um, in Acts 20:35, uh, it's one thing we kind of really in the foundation. I keep referencing the foundation, um, but it says, oh, I don't want to misquote it for you. I always got the Bible with me on deck.
There you go. It's a great
On
sword
Acts
to have.
5, it says, "Everything I did, I showed you that by this kind of hard work, we must help the weak. Remembering the words of the Lord Jesus Himself, it is more blessed to give than to receive." So through my foundation, that's kind of what we really want to show people is that um, through our hard work, through the actions we do, not just what we say, but through the actions we do, we want to show people that it is more blessed to give than to receive, and it's always blessed to help the weak.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, never apologize for having your sword next to you. It's always important to stay armed with the word. So
Yes, sir.
yeah. All righty. So training the body or training the mind? What's more beneficial for you?
Ooh. If you asked me this a couple years ago, I'd say training the body, but now my answer would definitely be training the mind.
All right. So we kind of hit on this a little bit earlier when we talked about just kind of some of the years at DP, but do you feel like you learn more from winning or losing?
Mm. There are lessons to be learned in winning, but there's a lot more to be learned in losing. I'd say there's more to be learned in losing.
Mm. Game winning play or life changing conversation?
Ooh, life changing conversation. Certain conversations you have with certain people are just really, you can take stuff away from that. That's so much more than just reminiscing on a play you made. Some conversations can really change your outlook on life, change the direction that you're going, and I would definitely say that for sure.
All right. Uh, Being coached hard, again, I've seen your dad train you and your brother. So being coached hard or learning things the hard way?
I say being coached hard. Some things you got to learn on your own. You got to learn the hard way sometimes, but if you can be coached hard and you can learn through other people's mistakes so you don't have to make those mistakes, that's always the most ideal way to go about it.
All right. So these last few are going to be a little more. I'm more excited to ask these than the other ones. So, what does it mean to you to be someone who's inspiring others, both in sports and in life?
Ooh, that it means a lot, honestly. And recently, I've had a lot of people reach out to me through my foundation. The different things we're doing for cancer patients and for nurses. Um, seeing people reach out and tell me, like, I I know someone who's battling leukemia, and I shared your story, and it gave them hope and it gave them inspiration. Those types of things really, really mean a lot to me. Being able to inspire people, like I mentioned earlier about the identity and how I wanted to have true fruit. You have fruit by how you impact the people around you and how you impact the world and the mark you leave, and being able to inspire people and to um, bring them hope, show them love, and inspire joy in their hearts, things like that. That is true fruit. So having people tell me that I inspire them in any form or way, that is just, it means the world to me, because that in itself is fruit.
Awesome. Alrighty. So, which story do you want to tell more, the comeback story or the survival story?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I've never thought about that. They're both great stories, but the comeback story is gonna be um the comeback story, I think, is gonna be a little bit more, is gonna have a little bit more substance to it. Just the other day, actually, one of my professors at the school, the Kingdom Culture Leadership School I've been doing, he kind of spoke a prophetic word over me, and he said, "You are the one who comes again." He said, no matter what obstacles you face, no matter what hindrance you may face, no matter how many times you're knocked down, he said, know that you have everything it takes to come again. So this comeback story, not just in sports and physically, but also on the with the foundation and on the business side, it's going to be. I'm excited to tell that story one day.
Good. I'm excited to see it and hear it and everything. So, all right, two more. So, if you can relive one chapter of your life, whether it's sports or what chapter would that be?
Ooh, if I could relive a chapter of life, I would probably go back and relive that SlamBall chapter, honestly, because I've seen the older SlamBall guys say all the time, like, you play and you might not know if it's coming back the next season or when it might be. And in my head, it was just a given. I was like, I'm doing this, and I'm gonna come back next summer, and I'm gonna do it again. And I'm gonna come back next summer and do it again. And obviously, as you know, it didn't play out that way. So if I could go back, I would definitely savor the moment a little bit more. I would definitely go about it a little differently, but I would really live in that moment a lot more and just appreciate it for what it was.
Yeah, again, it's you like the rest of us. It was that was what we thought, and unfortunately, and I know there's still a lot of work being done behind the scenes. As former players, we believe in this sport. We would love to see it be something that is an annual thing. But again, that feeling that you have, a lot of us have it. We knew we were getting back out there the next year, and then just things didn't line up. But then just kind of thinking back to the year that we had, we wish we could have done something different and everything. But again, we believe in the sport. There's a lot going on, behind the scenes. So hopefully it can get there at some point in time. So, all right. As I kind of said in the beginning, you have an amazing circle around you. You're a son, you're a brother, all of this. What is the best lesson, whether it be sports related or life related, that you've learned from your mom, one from your dad, and one from your probably your biggest critic in Taj? I
Mm,
know you guys have y'all's battles.
yes. Hmm. I'll start with my mom. So the biggest lesson I've learned from her is just work, grind. Ever since I was little, I've seen her just working her tail off. My mom is probably the hardest worker I know. She's the strongest woman I know. She's given birth to me now twice, basically, originally, and then with my bone marrow transplant, she's literally given me life twice. So I hold her above everything. Like that. That's my rock right there. But just ever since I was little, just she's instilled in me, as my dad did as well. But I was able to see her ever since I had consciousness, how hard she worked and how hard she went at everything she did. So I definitely would say I learned just that grind and that hustle from my mom. And then from my dad, I would say uh there's so many little things he says all the time that are just ingrained in my mind. But
He's a
I'd say,
wordsmith.
yeah. One thing he says a lot. I mentioned how he says outwork everyone, and for a while that really was like my whole motto. But one thing he says a lot is, um, oh, it's hard to choose between the two. He says good enough is not enough a
Hmm.
lot, and that's something I've really took. Um, and that just goes to having like a high level of excellence. Like, yeah, this is good enough, but I can do it better. I can make it better. So good enough is not enough. And then also, as you know, better every day. Just trying to get 1% better every day. And I've been able to take that into sports. I've been able to take that into academics. I've been able to take that in my battle with cancer. Just every single day, even if it's just a tiniest little step, just make sure you're not taking a step backwards. Just get a little bit better every single day. I would say I took that from him, and then from Taj. You said he could be my biggest critic at times, but I'm so proud of Taj. Um, Taj is just going into an incredible person, honestly. And I'd say I've learned from him just really leaning into creativity. This some of the things he started doing. How he has his own YouTube channel. Makes Minecraft posts, and he's on Fortnite doing all these different things. At first, I was kind of thinking like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, there's other things you could be doing. But seeing him be so confident and
Go run.
doing and pursue what he cares about and what he's compassionate about, his creativity, the way he expresses himself, I'd say I've definitely taken that from him, and that's something that I would like to try to mirror as he does, even more so. Just really letting my creativity flow and really being true to myself, and in that sense, the way Taj is, I really respect him in that sense.
Yeah, like I said, you've got a great supporting cast around you, and again I watch your family and just all the different things that y'all do, for each other, but also for the community with Rise, with Better Every Day, and with you training and everything. The thing that the Anderson family is doing is amazing, and I see the a lot of everything that your parents are, that they've instilled that in both you and your brother. And again, I'm honored to be able to be around and see all these great things that you were doing. And like and you've mentioned the foundation. Again, I work on this project. The foundation is one of my sponsors, and again, I'm very honored that you guys would be able to work together with me on this. And today's episode is proudly sponsored by the Better Everyday Foundation. The Better Everyday Foundation exists to provide direct, tangible support to individuals who have just been diagnosed with blood cancer, a moment that can be one of the most difficult and uncertain times in a person's life. Through their work, the foundation provides thoughtfully prepared care packages filled with items designed to support patients during treatment. These packages offer comfort, encouragement, and a simple but powerful reminder that no one has to face this journey alone. At its core, the mission of the Better Everyday Foundation is both simple and powerful. Meet people where they are, remind them that support, compassion, and hope are always within reach. By focusing on meaningful acts of care during the earliest stages of cancer diagnosis, the foundation is helping bring light to individuals, families, when they need it the most. We're proud to partner with an organization that leads with compassion, action, and purpose, making a real difference in the lives of those facing one of life's toughest battles. So, to learn more about the Better Everyday Foundation or support their mission, or to find ways to help get involved, we encourage you to connect with them on social media and online, and just help continue spreading hope. The Better Everyday Foundation, reminding people that even in the hardest moments, we can still move forward better every day. I know recently this month you guys were doing a lot of the highlights for the nurses and everything. So you guys are kind of hitting it from all angles over there. So again, very proud of everything that you guys are doing, and I appreciate this partnership in any ways that that I can help you or that we can help you. I'm looking forward to seeing just kind of how that relationship grows. So. Uh, Kind of as we wrap everything up, again, I want to say a moment just to say thank you, Bryan, both. for coming on here, being open and sharing everything, but also just everything you're doing with the Better Everyday Foundation. I think it is a truly amazing thing that you and the foundation are doing. So as we get ready to close everything out, I want to give you the opportunity to share with the audience anything that you have that anything you have going on, whether that's upcoming projects, the foundation, all your social medias, your websites, how people can help contribute or get involved or anything like that. So please take some time. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so so the foundation is my baby. That's my thing. Um, Growing up, I never had any dreams or aspirations to have a foundation, but through my experiences, I've kind of seen the need for it. And at the foundation, our goal is to bring hope, positivity, and love to people in need. We have dreams of one day expanding and be able to help in more facets and more areas of life. But right now, we're focused on newly diagnosed blood cancer patients. If you want to keep up with stuff, you could follow me. My personal Instagram page is Apostle Bryan. And then also on Instagram, you could follow the Better Everyday Foundation. And it's Better Everyday Foundation, just the name. That's the Instagram handle. Our website, you could find a lot of information on there. It's bettereverydayfoundation.org. Bettereverydayfoundation.org has all our information. It has all our different programs that we offer. We have programs where we bring care package bags to newly diagnosed patients. We have programs where we partner with local schools and clubs and groups, homeschooling groups, and we make cards to be able to put in those care package bags, but also to go to the hospitals and just hand out those cards just to spread hope and love to people dealing with hard situations. And we also, as you mentioned, we really do our best to really provide support to the nurses and really highlight them as well. Nurses have I spent a little over 6 months in the hospital. And when you're staying in the hospital that long, you really create bonds with the people in there. And I've some of the most incredible human beings I've ever met have been nurses. So we do our best to support them as well. Um, but yeah, we're just doing our best to just bring hope to people who need it. And so the Better Everyday Foundation it's not small, but it is growing. It's in the infant stages. We have hopes of one day being able to provide financial aid to people as well, because people get diagnosed with cancer. Some people don't have a circle like I have. You've mentioned it a couple of times. I have an amazing support group, but there's some people in there who they might have, you get diagnosed, you still have rent to pay, you still have your mortgage, you still have your car payments, you still have all these bills, your phone bill, all these different things, and now you're in the hospital for 3, 4, 6, sometimes even up to a year. People spend in the hospital. Those bills don't stop. So we have one day, our goals and aspirations are to be able to provide support in many different ways to different people. And I'm hoping and believing, and I know the Lord will provide, and we'll be able to do that one day. So that's the foundation. Um, and you kind of just left the floor open for me. So I'd say one thing I just want to say to anyone listening. Um, Sometimes we face battles and sometimes we're knocked down. Sometimes we got to go through trials, tribulations. Sometimes we're in the valley. We always want to be up on the mountain, but I'm just here to tell you one thing I've learned that has really stuck with me is that sometimes the person that you want to become only exists on the other side of the valley. So when you find yourself in the valley, you find yourself knocked down, don't sulk, don't quit, don't turn back, but just keep going. Understand that the Lord is with you at all times, everywhere you go. Lean on Him for strength. Don't lean on your own strength, but lean on the Lord for strength. Understand He is with you in the valley. And the person that you want to become, sometimes it only exists on the other side of that valley. So that uncomfortable time you're going through, that is when you are going to grow unlike any other time that you could spend. Um, so just continue to just thank God, lean into His presence, and understand that He's with you at all times.
Yeah, beautifully said, sir. So Again, I appreciate you doing that. So for everybody, please go out there, support Bryan, support the Better Everyday Foundation. Again, bettereverydayfoundation.org, Better Everyday Foundation, and Apostle Bryan on Instagram. So as we wrap everything up here, I want to thank the audience for just taking a little bit of their time out of their day to sit down and hear us talk. Thank you, Bryan, for sharing your story. I hope a lot of people are able to take this in and just and learn from it. So those out there in the audience, again, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, especially if you've made it this far. Please give us a like and subscribe and a follow. We're everywhere that they deliver content. We're on Instagram, Apple Podcasts, we're on uh, Spotify, we're on Amazon Music, YouTube, we're everywhere that they're delivering content. We're trying to get these stories and these lessons out to you. So please give us a like, subscribe, follow. That's how we continue to grow this thing and get these lessons to more and more people. So additionally, if something that you heard here, you felt that somebody that you know could benefit from hearing it, we ask that you forward it over to them. Give them a link, let them hear these stories and lessons as well. If you know somebody who just likes sports or somebody who likes storytelling, or maybe somebody who's going through something that you think hearing Bryan's story could help them, again, just get through the day, because sometimes, it's a day by day thing. So for more information on Beyond the Game, more stories, please visit our website, www.btgms.com. Again, all of our content is on there. More information about the podcast, as well as the official Beyond the Game, more stories merchandise. So as we wrap up here again, I'm your host, Dwayne Lightfoot Jr. Bryan Bell-Anderson, I thank you for coming on here, sharing your story. Again, thank you to the Better Everyday Foundation for the partnership. But as we close here, remember, the game may end, but the lessons last a lifetime. So until next time, we'll see you beyond the game.
Thank you.